You are listening to One Happy Podcast, Episode 1. Okay, now we're live. Well, not live. We're being recorded, okay? Okay. So, here we go. Bon Benny, and welcome to One Happy Podcast, the officially unofficial podcast of the island of Aruba. I'm your host, Curtis Robinson, aka Aruba Kurt, and I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to the show. Today, I'm being joined by a very special guest. One Happy Podcast would love to welcome Maggie G to the show. Hailing from the east coast of the United States, Maggie is an Aruban veteran who's been visiting the island of Aruba off and on for about a decade. A self-proclaimed beach bum, Maggie enjoys spending her Aruban days toes in the sand and her nights cold drink in her hand. And on top of it all, she also happens to be my best friend in the entire world. So Maggie, are you ready to take the listeners on a trip to your Aruba?
I sure am, Kurt.
So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to ask you, Maggie, is to tell me a little bit about your Aruba story. I want to find out how you view the island. So I guess specifically the first thing I want to ask is, when did you first fall in love with Aruba?
That's easy. First time I fell in love with Aruba was the first time I saw it. We had planned a cruise, and it was our first cruise ever. And I wanted to go somewhere really far south in the Caribbean because all I ever talked about was wanting to see blue water. And we had seen several islands, and they were all beautiful. But when we got to Aruba, first thing I remember seeing is I stepped out on the balcony, and I saw what I know now to be a divvy tree sitting out in the middle of the water all by itself. It looked like it was just literally floating on the water or on a tiny little island in the center of the water. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. That's my first memory of Aruba.
That tree's still there. Remember we saw it when we were flying in?
Yeah, I know. And we also have a picture of it hanging up in the living room. It's the same picture that I took on our first trip.
I took that picture.
Oh, well, whatever. You took it. But anyway, it's my first memory of Aruba, and I'll never forget it.
So when you first got off the ship in Oranjestad, what was your first impression?
Well, I'm not sure that I had a first impression when I stepped off the ship. I just remember just seeing all the shops. I mean, there were jewelry stores everywhere you looked, on every corner of every street. I do remember walking in Oranjestad and checking out all the little huts where they sell all their stuff. And remember when we saw the license plates? You thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I bought like 3 of them.
Yeah. But that's what I think of when I first stepped off the ship. It was just, a nice place to shop, but I really didn't know anything more about it.
Right. And that was what, our 5th island on that cruise?
Right. So I was just like, okay, another group of shops to shop at. Although I did have a whole lot of fun shopping there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's one of the things about the really touristy areas of those islands. They kind of blend together. So by the time we got to this one, it was kind of like, okay, this is just like the previous 4 that we had.
Right.
It wasn't until we got a little bit further out, away from the port, that we started to really fall in love with the charm of Aruba.
I remember when we finally caught a taxi and decided to head to the beach, and we were driving out of Oranjestad, and I remember they beeped a lot at each other, and the taxi cab driver said, well, that's how we say hello here on island. We just beep to each other because we all know each other. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, because back home, when you beep at somebody, it's like,
oh, it's something completely different.
Exactly. So I thought that was the coolest thing, that everybody was so friendly. And now that I know Aruba so much better, it's the friendliness. It is the atmosphere of Aruba.
Oh, yeah. Feels like a small town.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about the last time you were in Aruba.
Okay.
So, of course, I already know the answer, but why don't you tell the listening audience when the last time was that you were in Aruba?
We were there a couple months ago. We went the end of August. We were there for Labor Day, actually.
And how long was that trip?
9 days. I wish it could be longer, but that's the most time that I can get off from work. And I really liked it because I think that's one more day than what we usually stay. And it really felt like so much better that we got the one extra day.
Yeah, because you get to do certain things that normally you couldn't.
Yeah. You think, oh, what's the difference between 8 days, 9 days? What's the difference between a week and 9 days? But it makes a huge difference because if I had to cut it off 2 days before we left, there was so much I would have missed.
Right. Well, for one, like we got to actually enjoy a Sunday there.
Yeah, that's true. Because normally we don't get like a full whole weekend there. We arrive on a Saturday and we leave on a Sunday. So you don't really get a whole weekend on either end.
Right. Right. And they have like the Sunday barbecues and things like that. It's just different activities going on.
Right.
So, talking more about our most recent trip, let's dive into like where we stayed and everything. So you want to tell people a little bit about where we stayed?
Okay. Well, we stayed at a house. Janet is the owner. That's how I would refer to the place, Janet's house.
Yeah, it's Janet's house.
Huh?
We share it, though.
Yes, we share it with Janet. I mean, she technically owns it, but
we like to visit
there. Anyway, we found Janet's house last year on VRBO, and we fell in love with it. Actually, we picked it because of the price. But once we actually got there and spent time there, by the time we left last year, I just remember feeling like, oh my gosh, we're leaving home. And next time I come, I definitely want to come back to the same place. So I feel like I'm coming home again.
Love that house.
When we stepped in there this time, it was like we had just left. And I just threw down my bags and was ready to start I don't even want to call it my vacation, but my time there.
That's a good way to refer to it.
What else would you like?
So, well, what would you say is the best thing about staying at Janet's house?
Best thing about, other than the fact that it feels like home, I'd say the best thing probably for an outsider other than myself, the best thing about staying at Janet's place is its location. It's right in the Palm Beach area. It's on Palm Beach Road. It's right behind the Wendy's, if people are familiar with the Wendy's across from McDonald's. So you can literally walk to the Palm Beach Strip right from our place, which means you can not have to worry about driving.
That's right. Always a big plus.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really do love the location. Probably my favorite part is just like how comfortable everything is. I really like the way that she furnished the house because it's not pretentious at all.
Right.
Like we stayed at some places that were a bit more decked out.
You're on a vacation. Like,
right.
Yeah. This is more like home. Like you come in, like just sitting on the couch there. I feel like I'm at home. I literally like to actually watch TV, even though we don't watch it until 2:00 in the morning.
Right. The kitchen. We spend a lot of time in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's like we're sitting at home, just having a conversation, eating dinner or eating breakfast. Whereas a lot of other places you stay, you still feel like you're at a hotel. Like, remember Oceania? We stayed at the Oceania residence.
I love Oceania, but yeah, I understand exactly what you mean.
This felt like home.
So what would you think is there something that Janet could improve to make it even better?
Well, sure. I mean, you can always improve on things. I think the thing for our place, Janet's place, whatever you want to call it, the thing that could improve it would be the exterior because it's nice to spend time outside. She has a nice patio.
So you mean the outdoor space?
Yes, the outdoor space.
Okay.
She has a nice patio where you can sit and you could have a dinner. You could sit out there and just drink in the evenings if you want to. But I don't know, like maybe a jacuzzi out in the back. That would be a lot of fun. Something just to make the outside more inviting that you'd want to spend more time outside rather than inside. Right.
No, I get that. The jacuzzi, I understand why she doesn't have one just because of the way the property is managed. It's not really through like a management company.
Yeah. So
having a jacuzzi there can get a little bit dicey as far as like a maintenance standpoint and also maybe from a liability standpoint. So, I mean, I understand why there isn't one. What I would like to see done to make the outdoor space more usable is the way you go outside. You go through the master bedroom. I think that if you went through the living room, it would be it'd be more usable.
Yeah. And I mean, it's possible you can exit from the living room. I'm not quite sure why she has that locked off so that you can't. I'm sure she has good reason, but that would be nice because then you can open up right out from the living room to the patio where you can eat. So it would almost be like indoor-outdoor space.
Right. We would probably eat every meal out there, every meal that we ate at the place. And speaking of eating, I mean, while we do use the kitchen, we don't eat every meal there. It's mostly for breakfast and a couple of dinners throughout the week. But we still go out and enjoy the restaurants around Aruba.
Right.
Why don't you give a little rundown of the places that we ate on this last trip?
Well, let's see. Tango is an all-time favorite of mine. Actually, became an all-time favorite the last time we were there. But I love eating at Tango, so we went there a couple times. You might have to help me with this. We went to
Marina Parada.
Marina Parada. That was our first time there. The atmosphere there is gorgeous. I would recommend anybody that's never been there, you got to at least try it one time. But you really need to like seafood to actually enjoy the restaurant.
Right.
Which you do. I like it, but I don't enjoy it as much as you do. But definitely, I would go there again just because of the atmosphere.
Right. And the menu is varied enough that you can find something that you like on there.
Yeah. I mean, worst case scenario, I can always eat shrimp.
Right.
But
okay,
and is very good. And I know what you loved. Would you have match of the day or something like that? I
had the shore platter, I think it was called.
They definitely gave you enough to eat.
Yeah. It had fish and little lobster tail, calamari, shrimp, a couple different things. It was delicious.
Mm-hmm. Furman's. I wanted to talk about Furman's. That we actually found on what's that website?
We found it. Well, first we found that website through Aruba.com, and it was the guy's name is San Nick on Aruba.com, but he has his own website called the Bent Page. I think it's bentpage.net.
Yeah, I really like going to his Bent Page. I mean, if anybody hasn't been to Aruba, I highly recommend going to Bent Page because I remember the first couple times we looked at it, even just the fact that he shows how to get to places. Like I remember one thing he did was showed how to get to, I think it was Charlie's Bar in St. Nicholas. Right. And it was so neat to actually see him drive because you actually saw the trip and you know how to get there. And that's a huge help. Because none of the roads are labeled or marked. So it's a whole lot easier when you get directions based on what you can see rather than, go here, go there.
It was a huge help.
Other than that, it makes you feel like you're there. You can go back to the Bent Page videos and make it feel like you're back in Aruba and you're like, oh, I remember just passing by there. Oh, and you always have to turn left by the airport tower. And I'm like, oh, I remember the airport tower. Turn left. We can go to Royal to return our car. You go to several different restaurants with the Sultan. The Sultan, if you turn left.
Which we didn't make it to.
At the airport tower, no. But it seems like everything he videotapes is always like, turn left at the airport tower.
Yep. Daniel Putkowski's his name. He's a writer.
And the last time we were there, we couldn't find Marina Parada or Zero first.
Mm-hmm.
And actually watching his video was what helped us figure out exactly where it was. Also getting to, what's the name of the food truck that we wanted to get to, but we didn't get to this time?
Tia Rosa food truck.
Tia Rosa food truck. We got there, but they weren't open when we passed through. So we decided we would go a different time, but we never got a chance to go.
Yeah, so I mean, we still have quite a few places that we want to visit.
Right. We did see this time Tango's, Marina Parada, Furman's, as we were just talking about. Furman's is great. If you've never been there, you got to try it once just to get the feel of, I don't know, maybe eating at a real Aruban place. And there's probably a lot of other places you could go to that will give you the same feel. But it's like an open air restaurant with a barbecue pit. And we wanted to go on Sunday to get their
Sunday barbecue.
Never made it. They actually make great ribs. And I mean, you can tell them because you're a rib connoisseur. But I even love the ribs, and I don't like ribs all that much, so that's a whole lot for their ribs.
Yeah, and the balashi. Someone on the Aruba.com website said they have the coldest beer in Aruba, and that may be true.
It was definitely cold beer. I liked it. And remember our little friend, the dog that hung out with us the whole time?
Yes. Yes, he got to eat your hamburger that wasn't nearly as good as the ribs.
Yeah, it wasn't in their cooking. It was in the meat that was used, I think.
Yeah, so go to Furman's, don't have the burger, have the ribs. And the balashi works out to being, I think, $2 a bottle. If you get
the price of Furman's is definitely a great selling point.
Mm-hmm. Where else did we eat on that trip?
That's what I was just trying to think. We didn't get to go to Texas de Brazil, which is one of our favorites.
We went to Casa Tua.
Casa Tua, yes. That's just a fun place to stop through, especially if you've been drinking. Their pizzas are delicious.
We got to do a pizza challenge. We have to, on consecutive days, eat at Pizza Bob's, Tomato Charlie's, and Casa Tua.
Yeah, and decide once and for all what's our favorite pizza.
Yes, maybe we'll do it all on the same day.
Sounds good. Date.
It sounds good to me. Okay, so what was your favorite dining experience this trip?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, my favorite, I would say, is Tango's. We did go back to Tango's twice because I'm not a huge meat eater. I prefer chicken, but if there's one meat that I will eat, it's filet mignon. But on the island, the best filet mignon I've had to date is definitely at Tango's. When I eat that filet mignon, it just melts in my mouth, and the taste is to die for. Love it.
Yeah, their grill man does a great job. Actually, I think it's a grill woman.
Of course.
She does a great job.
Because we do everything better. But we won't go there.
So, if you were to pick one restaurant that you think every visitor to Aruba should visit at least once, which one would it be?
Gosh, that's really hard. Because I probably haven't been to a lot of places that are...
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've only been to Aruba a handful of times compared to some other people who've been going there for 20, 30 years and have 100 trips under their belt.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. Based on my own personal experience, I would say the place you need to try is... I'm going to have to go with Furman's.
Furman's?
Yeah. Not necessarily the food, the price, the atmosphere. It's nothing specific, one thing. Mm-hmm. It's just the concept of just an Aruban restaurant with Aruban people right in the heart of Aruba. I don't know how to describe it. It's just a nice atmosphere.
It feels authentic. It's like an Aruban version of Cheers.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I could go back there every night and just like have a beer or two. I wouldn't even have to eat. It would just be nice to go there. It's not going to be the best food that you get. It's not going to be the best atmosphere that you get, but it's going to be a really good time, and it's definitely something you always remember. Salt and Pepper is always a good place if you're trying to stay on the conservative side of spending money. You do a little bit of time at Furman's, and then later in the evening, after you've been drinking a while and you need to get some more food in your belly, stop by Salt and Pepper for some of their tapas. Yes,
get the Lumpia.
Exactly. Got to get Lumpia.
So is there any place that's on your must-try list that you didn't go to this time, but you definitely want to make it to next time?
One of two places, and very different from each other. But I know I need to try both of them. One would be Madame Jeanette's, because I think anybody who's been to Madame Jeanette's is going to say, what? You've never been there? And how many times have you been to Aruba? So I feel like I have to experience it.
We do need to go there.
Yeah, we do. Besides, it's fun to get dressed up.
Yeah, I don't even think you have to get that dressed up.
You don't have to, but you can. But, if you want to get dressed up and go out for a romantic dinner, passions on the beach and things like that. But I think of all those style of places that I would like to try, I would want to try Madame Jeanette's first. The other place that I have to try, because everybody says you have to try it and we haven't been there yet, would definitely be Zero Rovers. So two totally different styles, but I would think I need to hit one of those two on my next trip.
But I'm honestly surprised that you didn't say Barney's, because normally we always go to Barney's, but on this past trip we didn't go to Barney's.
I know. I think of it as, well, I'll go there for sure. So I don't think about it as much, but my burgers at Barney's, yeah, they're really good. And I like the atmosphere of Barney's too, just because it seems like a lot of people there know each other, and the owners seem to really love what they do.
And the staff too. The staff is great.
Remember the lady we met from, New Jersey?
From Jersey, yeah. She works down there, 6 months out of the year? Well, that's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
But now let's talk a little bit more about different activities that you can do while in Aruba.
Okay.
Now, we always rent a vehicle. Not everyone does that whenever they go to Aruba, but we always get a vehicle. So far, it's only been from Royal, because they've always treated us well. Although this last trip, their service left a lot to be desired. So maybe we'll be open to going with other providers now. But renting a vehicle allows us to explore the whole island, which is right up our alley. That's what we like to do. I understand some people like to just hang out at the resort, and that's cool too. Or just, go around the Palm Beach area. But for us, a vehicle works. Why don't you tell people a little bit more about the type of activities we like to do? Well,
we like lazy activities.
We do. Beach bums, yes. Both of us.
We're nothing more than beach bums at heart, which, I mean, if you are, Aruba's the place for you. Because, everywhere you turn, there's another beach you can go to. And each beach is more beautiful than the next.
I was just thinking that same exact phrase.
Great minds.
Yeah.
Anyway, what we love to do in Aruba is beach bum it, head to different beaches, just spend the day relaxing, enjoying the surf. It's not heavy surf, but it's nice and relaxing. We actually bought, what are those things called? Papasans to take on this last trip. I think it's a must-have now. I think everybody should bring one with them if they like to just float on the water. It's the best form of relaxation that you can find. They pack really easily because they're very small once you fold them up.
Yeah, collapsible.
Yeah, and they only take a couple seconds to blow up, and voila, perfect relaxation on the water. So I highly recommend, if you don't have one, you need to get one before you come down to Aruba the next time. The other thing we love to do is we love driving the backside of the island. Aruba's not very big. The backside of the island isn't all that big, but it's such an adventure, and it's a different adventure every time you go.
Yeah, it's nice to off-road there.
Yeah.
It's nice to check out the little hidden beaches along the way, or not necessarily hidden beaches, but the beaches that not everyone gets to see.
Yeah, well, remember, I own one of the houses right on the beaches now.
Yeah, he claimed it.
Doesn't have a roof, doesn't have windows, but it's a beautiful work in progress.
It's got 3 walls, I think.
But it's on a gorgeous beach, and it's private.
That's right. So is there anything specific on this trip that you wanted to do, but you didn't get a chance to do?
I'm sure there was plenty of things that I wanted to do that I didn't get a chance to do.
But is there anything that pops into your mind right now?
I'm sure there was. Well, you know what? I've never been jet skiing, and I'd really love to try that. We sit on the beach so much, and we watch all these people having fun on the jet skis in the water, and it just seems like something that I definitely want to try. I just don't ever do it, and I don't know why. Another thing was that, what's that thing that we saw this time that seemed really...
Oh, the jet lev.
Jet lev, yeah. No, that's the one where you go above the water. I'm talking about the thing where you dive down into the water with it.
Yeah, I think it's called the Sea Bob.
Is that what it was?
It's like it's like a water scooter sort of, but you hold on to it.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. Don't know if I personally could handle it, but I definitely think I would want to try that.
Yeah, the Sea Bob water sled.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, next time we go, we have to give that a shot.
Okay.
I think it'd be cool. Gotta get some earplugs for you.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
So is there any other thing you want to talk about as far as activities go?
No, I don't really care about doing tons of activities because I feel like it takes away from my time on the beach, and what I'm there for is the beach. I'm sure that if I lived there and I could go to the beach whenever I wanted, I'd probably look for more activities. Right now, we go twice a year. Maybe if we start going 3 times a year, which is what we'd like to do this coming year, I might have more time to say, hey, I want to try this and I want to try that. But when I only go twice a year, and I know only twice a year probably sounds like a lot to some people, but for me, when I only get to be there twice a year and I love the beach so much, I don't want to, quote, waste my time doing things that interfere with my beach time. Like, I would love to do a sunset sail, and how about the Jolly Pirate? That would be really fun to do. But all that takes away from my time on the beach. So I never want to do things because I don't want to interfere with that. Because then I'd be like, oh, I didn't get enough days on the beach.
That's the beautiful thing about vacation. It's different for everyone, and whatever your preference is what you get to do.
I agree.
So with that being said, let's move on to the final section of this interview.
Oh, it's almost over?
It's winding down. Now, this last section is something that I like to call the eye of the hurricane. Although Aruba is below the hurricane belt, for this particular interview, you're going to enter the eye of the hurricane. That's sort of like a lightning round. This is where I ask you a series of questions and you just answer them right off the top of your head, the first thing that pops into your mind.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Finish this sentence. You know you are in Aruba when...
Oh, gosh. Start again. Ask the question.
Finish this sentence. You know you are in Aruba when...
I see the sign in the airport that says, welcome to Aruba, Bonbini, and it's a big picture of the Cuckoo Kanuku bus with Mama, what's her name? Mama, hanging out the front of the bus. That's when I know I'm in Aruba.
What's your best memory of Aruba?
Best memory of Aruba would probably be the first time I stepped foot on Palm Beach. I knew that that's where I wanted to come back to over and over again.
Now, what's your worst memory of Aruba?
Easy. It's probably everybody's worst memory of Aruba. The time when you're sitting in the airport to come home and you're watching all the people walk down the aisle that are entering Aruba and they're all happy and you're so sad.
The crying room.
The crying room, yes.
It doesn't affect me the same way it affects you.
It's because I'm leaving home and I don't like to leave my home.
Yeah, see, for me, I think once I enter that area, like, I shut it down. I'm back in the real world and just ready to hit the ground running.
That's so sad.
Yeah, but I think it's the way that I need to handle things.
See, I want Aruba to be my real world.
Oh, I'd love for it to be my real world. Okay, now, obviously, we both agree that Aruba is as close to perfection as any place we ever visit. But is there something that you wish you could bring from home? Or maybe something you experienced on a different vacation that you would like to bring to Aruba? I guess what I'm asking is, how could Aruba be improved?
Well, there's a couple different things for me personally. Well, I'm going to mention both, but I'll pick one. I wish that it was easier for Americans to actually take up residency in Aruba, because if it was easier, then I would definitely do it. And if that was the case, then my second choice would be to have my little baby girl, Claire, my little kitty cat, with me in Aruba, because I'd love to share it with her. So if they fix the one, then the other one comes.
Do you have anything special that you currently bring to Aruba from home? Something that helps you take your vacation to the next level?
Well, I mentioned it earlier. I would think the thing that I would say that I now bring from home that takes my vacation to the next level is my papasan. I don't leave home without it.
When you're on the beach, do you read or listen to music?
Oh, actually, when you said, is there something I bring from home, I wanted to mention that too, but I was only allowed to give one answer. But music is probably my second favorite pastime to laying on the beach. So I always bring my music with me. I have a little portable speaker so I can not blare my music, but play it loud enough that I can really enjoy it when I'm on the beach. So yeah, bringing my music from home is always a great addition to my trips, especially when I'm sitting on the beach, relaxing and enjoying the sun.
Give me one artist that you're listening to right now.
I'm not listening to anyone at the moment. You know what? One artist that I'm listening to now that I haven't listened to in a while, and it's because of the voice, is Gwen Stefani. I never really realized how much I actually like her music.
Very good.
Thank you.
Do you have any special tools or apps that you use when planning or booking your trips?
Top of my list, I would probably say VRBO. The one thing that I miss about the fact that we have now rented from Janet a couple times, and most likely we'll rent from her again in the future, is going to VRBO and trying to find where we want to stay, because it gives me something to do to look forward to my next trip, because I look at all the different places and the prices, and we saw one place recently where if we can get the whole family to commit to going to Aruba with us at a certain time of year, would be a great place to stay that's right on the water. Was it down? It's down near Baby Beach, I think, isn't it?
No, it's down by Zay Rover.
Oh, Zay Rover. Okay, it's on your way to Baby Beach. Looking at stuff like that is just really fun, and it keeps you energized and excited about your next trip. Where now I look at different places that I would stay if I could take other people with us. But now that I'm so happy staying at Janet's place, we don't really use VRBO as much as we did. The other second or third thing I would say would be Bentpage. Love to go to Bentpage, and Aruba.com. You can go there any day of the week and just read people's trip reports or read about what's going on in Aruba or what anybody has to say or wants to learn about Aruba, and it just takes you there. So even when you're at home, you can be in Aruba.
To me, Aruba.com is an invaluable resource.
It is. It really is. One other thing I love is the cameras on the beach, like the cameras on the beach at Manchego Beach Resort.
Right, the webcam.
Yeah, the webcam. Because then you can just click on the webcam and watch what's going on the beach, because that's my favorite beach to hang out on.
Well, don't tell anyone this, but that is actually a great way to like take a 5-minute mental escape when you're at work.
This is true. I don't get a chance to do that when I'm at work, but if I could, I definitely would. You find time.
Yeah, I find time. All right, so now you've reached the final question of the Eye of the Hurricane.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, I sure am.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the question. I want you to think about it. Take your time, come up with an answer, and then get back to me, okay?
Okay.
Here goes. The people of Aruba have decided to lock you out of paradise. That's right, they're no longer allowing visitors to the island. However, since you've been a great guest so many times, they've decided to allow you to have one more visit, but it's only a one-day visit. The good news is, all expenses are paid.
Ooh.
You get one beach, one activity, and one special meal. How do you spend that last day on the island of Aruba?
Okay. I would say it's so hard to pick what beach, because I love different beaches for different things. But if I never got to spend another day in Aruba, I would have to pick Arashi, because I would stay until the sunset, and there's no better place to watch the sunset in Aruba other than Arashi. So my beach would be Arashi. My activity, because I wouldn't leave Arashi the entire day until the sunset, would be to just relax on the beach, have as much beer as possible to drink, so that I could just relax and drink beer all day and wait for the sun to set. And then after the sun would set, I'd probably go for dinner at, this is going to sound silly, but Barney's. I would have to do my last dinner at Barney's, just because it's the first place we ever ate at when we went to Aruba, and I'd like it to be the last, if I ever have a last.
That was a great answer.
Thank you.
So I guess that concludes the Eye of the Hurricane. How was it?
I survived.
You did more than survive. You did great. And I want to thank you for joining me today. This interview has been great. Thank you for being my first ever interviewee.
I love thinking about my time in Aruba, and if it was fun for other people to hear about my experience, I'm more than happy to share it.
So I'm just going to ask you one more favor, okay?
Uh-huh.
Maggie, if you could give the listeners just one piece of advice specifically aimed at newbies to Aruba, I'll let you get out of here, okay?
Okay.
But the trick is I want you to do it using 10 words or less.
Oh. See as many beaches as you can and take as many pictures as possible, because the memories are spectacular. That was more than 10. I'm sorry.
that was more than 10. But since you've been such a great guest, I guess I will let that slide.
Beaches, beaches, beaches. You got to see them. You'll love it.
There you go. So thank you so much for joining me today. And the interview was great. I hope that the people listening enjoy it.
I hope you enjoy it too.
So with that being said, I'll let you get out of here.
All right.
Thank you so much for tuning in today to One Happy Podcast, the officially unofficial podcast of the island of Aruba. If you would like more information about any of the topics discussed on today's show, head on over to onehappypodcast.com to see the episode 1 show notes. There you'll find the links to everything we talked about today. Papa Songs, the Bent page, and of course Aruba.com are all located right there. Also, if you have any questions, comments, gripes, or suggestions, I'd love to hear from you. Any feedback is always welcome. Or perhaps you'd like to be a guest on a future episode of One Happy Podcast. If so, head on over to onehappypodcast.com